And good day, colleagues, friends, and members. We welcome you all to this next edition of Member Spotlight Series. Today's Spotlight Series, as you all know, focuses on localization, and it is titled Curating Localization. And it is purposefully titled Curating, as we all know that localization means different to different stakeholders. For some, they understand localization as more funds available at the local level from the donors by drawing on from one of the commitment of grand bargain, as we all know. But for some, it means to create an enabling environment for the communities to take their own decisions on enhancing their resilience. Today's webinar unfolds some of those dimensions which would help you to put localization in practice. We bring in varied experiences of our members on this floor today to help us understand more about localization. So without further ado, I would like to quickly introduce our first speaker, Dr. Manu Gupta, who needs no introduction. He is building disaster resilient communities across Asia Pacific, and he has been at the forefront of championing and advocating for citizen-led initiatives globally for over 2 decades. He's co-founder of SEES, and an award-winning non-profit organization that enables communities' resilience through practical solutions in the areas of disaster readiness, response, and rehabilitation. Dr. Gupta is a Ashoka Fellow and holds a degree in urban planning and a doctorate in community-based disaster management from Kyoto University, Japan. Before we begin today, we would like you to put your questions in Q&A section or chat, and we will take it after the presentation. We would also like you to mute your microphones while the presenter is giving his or her presentation. And we also would request that this is an interactive session. We would like you to all share your experiences and also kind of ask as many questions, because we have very, very experienced people on our panel today. So, floor is yours, Dr. Manu Gupta. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shivangi, and good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be meeting many of our friends here, and hopefully I'll make some new friends today in this webinar. The whole topic of localization is an intriguing one. Like Shivangi said, depending on where you are, you may want to look at it in a very, very different way. So to make matters simple, or maybe to take up one pathway, I decided to look at it from a timeline perspective, and something which GNDR, as hosts of this webinar, are defining localization as. And of course, it is all open for discussion, and hopefully we will have a whole diversity of inputs from the participants today as we go along. So allow me to share a presentation just to capture our thoughts here and go on a journey of how we have evolved our thinking on localization. So as it goes, understanding localization from a GNDR perspective, but also understanding from a local organization perspective becomes important. We are also, mind you, we are looking at it more from a disaster risk reduction space and less from the humanitarian space, which obviously has a different power dynamics to it. As you know, I am a co-founder of a local organization here in India. And we have been working and championing the cause of localization in our own way. And what I wanted to share with you is not just the organizational learning today, but also much of what we as a sector and many of the friends who are today in today's call have jointly thought about localization. And this hopefully will lead us into a more detailed and then a more in-depth cases of localization and celebration of local action at local level. So let's just try and define the scope here in some way. Like Shivangi said, the localization does not solely focus on channeling humanitarian assistance funds to local actors. It is larger, it refers to structural changes at local, national, and international level, the change in power dynamics, as we all understand. But most importantly, I feel that it is about building capacity, resources, and power, and bringing that to people where they are able to build upon their own resilience. Many attempts have been made to define this, and you can see that on the picture on your lower right, how it has been unbundled in various ways. And I would encourage you to look at the humanitarian encyclopedia, which makes one such attempt, though not a comprehensive one, but an attempt, an initiative to start building on this whole literature and bringing in the nuances that all of us bring from our own cultures and communities. So here's my timeline view, and I'm going back to 2001, nearly 2 decades ago, when there was a devastating earthquake in the western part of India. And I was there as one of the field workers, aid workers, if you like, who had this task of rebuilding a village in the state of Gujarat. And I literally stayed there for nearly 2 years. And what I learned was that when we as external agencies, as in local NGO partners, come and work with people, we are able to unlock a huge potential of people's energy, the people's creative power, or the enterprise that can actually unleash a lot of community-led action or local people-led action. And that was a big learning for me in that whole earthquake rebuilding experience, because it kind of shattered my mindsets about how external agencies should be working in such kind of emergency situations. And it did not stop here. When I had this chance of meeting like-minded people, many of you are in this room today, and you may relate to this picture on the slide. In 2002, many of these southern-based Asian organizations came together to say, well, we need to come together and speak about our leadership, about how local organizations working so closely with communities can actually take on that leadership and challenge this whole approach of the global north to look at localization from in a very patronizing sense to something where it is more bottom-up, more people-decided, more locally decided actions. And a good thing was that the Asian Disaster Reduction and Response Network was formed. Today, it's a vibrant network and works very closely with GNDR on many of the common areas of work. In 2004, this whole concept of localization really took roots in the Asia Pacific. There was the very devastating Indian Ocean tsunami, as you all remember. Countries like Indonesia, Malaysia, parts of Malaysia, Thailand, and in the South Asia part got affected. And we realized how local organizations in each of these countries could directly coordinate and learn from each other, rather than going on believing in and waiting for resources to come from the global north. One such example was how local folk tales, something that we had learned in Japan called the Inamura no Hi, could actually get translated not just in terms of language, but also in terms of culture across all the nations around the Indian Ocean that were impacted by the tsunami. So it really demonstrated local power through South-South cooperation. Interestingly, at the same time, you may be aware that there was a tsunami evaluation committee, the TEC, and it was so boldly exposing the kind of corruption the international system had brought in as part of the whole tsunami recovery. So even more, the whole concept of localization. Moving on, we have seen localization, and local to global kind of movements, where GNDR itself took that lead in highlighting and the need for recognizing local needs, community needs and efforts. And you would recollect the very famous publication, Views from the Frontline, where this famous quote that I often use in many of my presentations from a fellow local organization representative in Africa, who said that the people I work with every day see many clouds, international initiatives and plans, but very little rain, which actually translates into actual change at the front line. I think this, there was, as I can see, we were beginning to get more and more traction, not just in Asia, but globally, on this whole need for championing the cause of local and locally led action. And it kind of started unraveling into whole range of topics, whole range of issues centering around partnerships, for example. How do you build mutually accountable partnerships? How do you make more inclusive approaches for decision making? How do you give more agency to local people by bringing in concepts of cash-based programming and also community funding pools? I think that tilted a lot of our programming, our transactions more on the side of the community. And I think that was something that came all because of the push that local organizations made through these various forums that I spoke about. 2016 was a major landmark year for many of us. The Grand Bargain was published. It brought many donor governments together to agree upon the principles of locally led action. It spoke about the role of intermediaries, spoke about how can we strengthen local capacity and not make it like a dipstick approach, only related to a one contract at a time, or that whole subcontracting approach. We moved to commitments around flexibility in programming, about the recognition of local leadership. And I think the whole elements of localization started kind of taking shapes in black and white, if you like, through these documents such as the Grand Bargain commitments. So now moving on, friends, to what is it for us in the current decade. And I think this is where the center should be. We are looking at learning from the pandemic, because we've seen how in the global lockdown that we all experienced, it was the local actors that took charge, didn't they? There was no supply chains. There were no global to local kind of transaction happens. Airports were closed, so no people flying from one country to another. And it was left to local people to find the resources, to find the solutions to a problem that was very, very grave. And I think that learning is very valuable for us, particularly valuable as we look at the climate challenge in this current decade, which basically means there are going to be more impacts, more unpredictable impacts, on local communities, and therefore they need to be prepared. They need to look for local resources to be able to become more resilient, become stronger, and be able to protect their life and assets. This also means that we have to ensure nobody gets left behind, there is enough capacity, and yet the kind of complexity that we are seeing, the cascading effect of disasters, having conflict and natural hazards at the same time, or the Fukushima kind of cascading challenge, how do you resolve for diversity by staying local? These are the new challenges that we need to address in this decade. We have the global frameworks under the Agenda 2030. They provide us with some guideline, but again, I personally believe that it is up to us how we design strategies, how do we bring more local innovation to the fore to be able to solve some of these existential problems. Moving on, we look at how it will play out. There could be many ways. There could be a partnership-based approach where we are negotiating more equal partnerships, and that is already happening, as you know, as part of the Grand Bargain approach 2.0 and many similar kind of forums that are coming up. The midterm review of the Sendai Framework talks about enabling localization through a governance-based approach. How do we empower local governments? How do we set up systems that will enable local level action through enabling governance mechanism? And if I may add, there is now a platform-based approach, which is basically using technology to reach out to larger populations. So, trying to emulate the Amazons and the Ubers to be used for societal good in that space. And maybe the answer is in bits in all three or any one of them. It all depends on the context, the organization that I'm working for. So the question is that, what am I negotiating here? What are my terms? And that really will define what would be the best approach in such given circumstances. So here are my 5 points that I would like to cover. Is we have to look at means enable communities to act independently and make their own choices, and that is easier said than done, because we need to find the right metrics, the right framework where people are able to express what they wish for, what they and then we need to ensure how do we enable that wish to come through. So really keeping people at the center. Then the second, as I said earlier, is to resolve for diversity. We have to look at the all of society approach, which basically means, and I've seen those tussles happening in boardrooms and the UN meeting forums, where the civil society has to sit alongside the donor governments, their own national governments, and how do you share that, the power dynamics that is going on there, keeping in mind that we need to bring it at community level. And I think the all of society approach outlines to a certain extent how that can be enabled. It means letting go a lot of our conventionally held values and beliefs. And again, it's obviously context-based. The third point is around local leadership, something we've also learned through the Indian Ocean tsunami, through many such examples that we saw in real situations. And it talks about encouraging, evoke, and nurture distributed leadership. Again, leadership that doesn't look at hero worship, but leadership among people, among and constituencies that they represent in a given context. The fourth one is, how do you share this solvability? How do you how do you enable this solvability at local level? So we look at local solutions that are developed by local actors by tapping into resources that are made available to them. And that mechanism needs to be put in place. Again, it will take various forms, as we will see later in today's webinar. How, when local resources put together and made available to local communities, can bring about much better solvability to problems that communities are facing. Fifth, and the final point I wanted to share today was around creating shared spaces that bring people together to create new solutions. I think we have been becoming too used to this whole cookie cutter approaches, and that's why we don't seem to be solving some of the problems that tend to recur and tend to cause harm. We just try to keep and pumping in more resources. But I think people have the solutions. There is enough innovation if you go around communities and speak to them. Creating those shared spaces that can enable these new solutions, these new innovations to be recognized, to be diffused, is something that will really inspire locally led action. And so I feel that these are just the ingredients. What you are going to see today, later in this presentation, are two examples of how do you share solvability, where communities are able to leverage funds directly. And that I think is, that I would inspire you to see the presentation from Indonesia, from Vido. And the other one is around inclusive approaches, where we resolve for diversity, which will come from Pakistan for you. But let me just end with this beautiful quote that I came across, which says that we are all caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied into a single garment of destiny. We are made to live together. Thank you.
Tiffany, you are muted.
What?
Sorry, I was on mute. No, I was saying that thank you so much, sir, for this wonderful presentation, very insightful, and a very different approach to look at localization. And I'm sure members here who are present are also trying to now understand localization from their perspective, where they are, and excellent points made on this approaches, such as partnership based approach, governance enabling an approach, and a platform based approach. As we evolve and as we try to address the complexities of disasters which are growing day in and day out, and which also means that all that 5 points that Dr. Gupta actually mentioned are so very much relevant, very important, and a very important learning that we take away from his presentation today. But before I go into the next session, I'm opening floor for questions, and you can take floor and ask questions to Dr. Gupta at this stage. It's an open discussion. Please feel free to put your questions, your observations, or share your experiences very briefly. I see one hand, Mr. Amir. Yes, please go ahead.
Apologies, good morning. I don't know what time it is there. For me, it's good afternoon. Very inspiring presentation from your side. I'm presently in Islamabad. I have operated in this space with communities now for about 30 years, mostly in Pakistan, Afghanistan, a little bit in Indonesia. But I think one of the questions, and first, amazing presentation. I also put it in my comments on the chat. Very inspiring. I like the localization, the way you approach it. My challenge on localization, and just like yourself, I was in the World Bank before, and I led the 2005 Pakistan earthquake, along with my counterpart Anil from ADB. And one of the lessons that I learned and still struggling with, especially in the north of Pakistan and also in Sindh and Balochistan, is that, I mean, I like this idea of local curation, but where and how often the paucity of resources comes in the way. Now, I realize that, that may not be the most glorious point to bring about right now, but I think that, I'd really like to understand that, a lot of this, you talk about energy, you talk about local knowledge, you talk about mobilizing people, you talk about working together, local solutions and all that. But, at the end of the day, we are looking at an approach which is local to resilience, building an ability to deal with disasters and have that approach almost in a sort of mechanically there, or not mechanically, but humanly there. And but we do realize that there is often infrastructure destruction, whether at individual level or at collective level, which does demand resources which might not be within the reach of the community. So a little bit more light. I mean, that this is something maybe I missed in your presentation, but I'd just like to understand the resource angle on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Shivangi, should I answer now, or should we take some questions and then we go?
I think we take some questions and then
Okay, all right. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, Mr. Muhammad Hilal Uddin. Kindly unmute yourself and ask questions. Thank you.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, we are able to hear you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I think we have lost you, Mr. Mohammed. We can't hear you anymore.
Anyway, yes, actually, I am calling from Bangladesh. I am representing a local NGO. Its name is Obrojatra. So we are working in a Rohingya refugee context since the massive influx 2017. Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Hello. Okay. And actually, thank you, Mr. Manu Gupta, regarding some issue already addressed, especially in COVID situation and others. Yeah, the 150 organizations, including UN and most of the INGO working here and implementing the project in the refugee context. And the problem is actually it is already declared that this crisis is protested crisis, and this is a long time because of the repatriation process is not happening recently. So in that case, local and national NGO, actually we are getting lots of difficulties to work here, and especially we see the COVID situation, almost 3,000 special expert. Definitely they also need to respond. But when international organization working here, so but they don't transfer the skills to the local organizations, local experts who working also responding the project. So this is also we found in COVID situation. So lots of international staff they leave the country, and it was a huge vacuum it is created. And secondly, actually, problem is the most of the organization they are grandfathering principles, CPOC, commitments, signatory, and Brussels, but they don't partnership with the local NGO. in the name of the compliance and other things. This is one thing. And if any organization partnership with the INGO or UN, so they do not allow any overhead cost. Even the administration or operational cost also very few. Even they offer share cost stuff. So this type of problem actually we are also facing in Cox's Bazar Rohingya refugee context. And lastly, even we found that local NGO, like you know, the JRP process, the ISG every year launched the JRP, Joint Response Plan, and most of the organization they they apply for the fund, but
I think we have lost him. So I think let's move to the last question from Keen Muang Win. And if Mohammed is back, then we'll take his remaining part of the question. So Mr. Keen, if you can.
Thank you very much. You hear me?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Manu Guptaji, thank you very much. All the information you have discussed and your concept and ideas. We have learned a lot from why we are having a lot of the ADRN meeting, inform the other friends about this localization, and also from other friends why we are having with the GNDR also. But I would like to say, as most of your people know, that our country is in a severe political or crisis, and a lot of people are suffering from that. And despite of that, we got this is COVID and also the cyclone. So what we are doing mainly use this localization. We have to work. We don't have much the infrastructure support or the agency support in the area. The way we are trying to help the most vulnerable affected people. What we are trying to do is the humanitarian assistance program, which is community initiative or lead humanitarian approaches we are using at the community. But we have a little some issue is that when when the donors are coming, they come with a certain frame and certain type of is a target or the range they give it. But as the main man say also in the day, the community needs a lot of different variation in the population. So it is truly that we need to base on the community to lead or their selection. I call it the criteria they set up, and that's why we are doing the community lead humanitarian role. And we don't get any much fund from anybody, but we try to raise the fund from the friends whoever helping us, and we did a lot of good work for the people. So what I'd like to mention is certain places or conditions. These policies are policies, but the main thing is how could we interact with the community? And there are a lot of variations on the ground. So we need to be flexible and making make this to go up to the donors or the funding agency to be make it flexible to fit into the community needs or their demand. So that is that we can do the community or what we say localization. But if the donors or the funding agency are not quite understanding the fee condition, then we won't get much help, and the effectiveness will be not very much. So if we should put in edit a little bit about how to advocate or to the donor funding also. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And there's lots of interest. I'll go to Rabia, who is not being able to raise her hand, and then I come to Faith in Action and Benjamin from Reeds, and that would be for this session. And you'll, as we progress, please park your questions, and we'll come back to you in the later part of our session.
Please, madam, I am Mr. Habibur Talgar. I am speaking from Bangladesh. I have one question, short question. I want to know.
Mr. Habibur, sorry to interrupt you. Sorry to interrupt you. I will first call Rabia Ghani, and I'll call you a little later. Please wait for your time. Miss Rabia,
thank you so much, and hi to everyone. Quick, because it will take a long then. Quick response from Pakistan. Just appreciate the efforts you are dealing. Mansab, it was a really wonderful presentation. One crisp question, because it's a two-way process. Like on part of communities, also part of the civil society as well as the donors too. Recently, we had conducted a clear global research in the riverine communities affected by floods 2022 in Pakistan. What the outcomes were, the findings were the most, like I can say, it was very challenging for them to understand the things we prepare for them, like our IEC materials. So we do not take them on board before preparing them. That's what you're finding. It was very difficult for them to understand the technical languages or the jargons or like things like that. So when the information is not reaching them, so the participation is restricted. When they do not understand the language we are talking with them, then also these are the barriers for them. So we need to have, just one comment, we need to have the programs devised in a way, even for to the donors also, that they are meant for the communities level. We can only strengthen the localization if everyone will join in, even the governments, the UN agencies, the World Bank, Asian Development Banks, because they're launching the projects. Recently, UNICEF has launched a project of clean drinking water. How billions of dollars have been spent, but the communities were not taken on board. Now these projects are like, much of the time has been wasted. Now they wanted to hand over to the communities, but communities were not involved in the initial stages. Now things have become complicated. They cannot run those projects with heavy amounts on their own because they are very marginalized. The climate change is again causing problems everywhere. We will be having food insecurities, then lots of monsoons and rains. So much is going on like that. So we have to check the economic stability also and where we are working. So localization is possible, very much possible, because people are interested in, until and unless we will include them. In our VFL research also, we had the same findings that people are not involved in the decision-making process at any level. Not even in the monitoring and evaluation, not even while deciding about the project. So this is essential at the part of everyone who is making the projects or budgets and everything. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Rabia ji. And sir, I'll let you answer a few of those questions. And then we'll come to next two questions, next three questions actually, and then wrap up this session. This segment of the session. Yes, sir, over to you.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. And very, very rich and relevant questions here, observations by friends. The point that Dr. Wynn made about the challenge of resources, and so did Amir from Pakistan, is very, very true and very real. But I think the answer lies in the question itself in some way, if I may. I've looked at these kind of situations in many contexts, and Dr. Wynn's context is a perfect example in Myanmar, where he's been working. where resources are very, very scarce when it comes to enabling local level action. But that's where I've also seen the greatest creativity among people. So there are local efforts. There are ways of finding solutions locally, and resources have not been a challenge in certain cases. But yes, when it comes to replicating, when it comes to scaling these solutions, we do need resources. And that brings me to the question that Mr. Amir raised at the beginning of the Q&A session. Yes, this is a global problem. Very little rain on the ground. So what we are doing, and this is just one of the examples, and I'm sure there is much more in this room that can be shared, is we are using technology, and lately there has been a whole level of movement around digital public goods, which is how do you create enabling mechanisms where resources can reach directly to people? So it's something like an Amazon, something like a Uber, where you create a network where there are diverse actors who are able to come together in a shared space to be able to support a common objective. And I would encourage you, maybe we can share it over email, a lot of work being done. There are researches done by the Rockefeller and many other international donors on how technology can enable more resources directly to people. It has started with this whole movement around financial inclusion, but it has moved into how do you enhance resources. So I think there are some more futuristic answers there. We in India are trying something very similar, where we are creating these disaster wallets for people who get recurrently impacted by climate change induced events. And how do they get funded directly by the insurance companies, by the microfinance companies, by the government, and even agencies like us. I think the other two comments on involvement of people in decision making by Rabia, as well as from Mr. Mohammed, about the how the international system completely ignores or is blind to the local capacity, are the existential problem that we are facing, and we have been facing for not just in current times, but for decades together. This whole movement around decolonization that we hear lately is all about reversing that balance. And just to let Mr. Mohammed know that the Grand Bargain 2.0 is specifically speaking about the role of intermediaries, these international NGOs who are working in our communities, who need to more than just give us funds for direct implementation. They need to build the capacity of the local organization, which means they need to give us more overheads. They need to help us invest in staff, in their training, and not poach them to with higher salaries. All that is part of the current debate. I wouldn't say we have had a huge success, but the needle has moved. And this applies to also IEC design that Rabia spoke about. So insensitive, and such a big waste on spending on these kind of IEC material that have absolutely no appetite when it comes to people whom it is meant for. Yeah. Shivangi, back to you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. And I think there are 3 interventions more, but I will request the speakers to be really, really very, very crisp and just the question, please. So I'll start from our colleague from Faith in Action, Bangladesh, please.
Thank you very much. Mr. Gupta, thank you very much for the process you have brought up and the experience you have shared with us. Thank you very much. And I actually appreciate the localization process you have you have showed in the slides, that partnership approach, governance enabling approach, platform approach. So all of the three can be worked. Yes, thank you. And also showing the how we can enable communities to act independently and to make their own free choices, as well as and all of society approach as well, encourage, evoke, nurture distributed leadership. This is very important. Yeah, important to me that though the localization, it has been much talked, and we are seeing that the donor agencies and globally, lot of people are talking about this, and many discussions are going on. And even in Bangladesh, we have seen that the NGO, under the leadership of NGO platform, a series of meetings are being held here in Cox's Bazar and many places. And I have also attended in many, when the Zoom call in Venro and other platforms. But my question is this: why it is delaying localization? We know that everybody is talking about localization, but why it is delaying? Whether everybody is talking, but keeping the steering on their own, hands. Is this delaying or what? Or the mindset up or the system? So my big question is why it is delaying? I don't know, but all in one, because if the local people do not take the initiative, the problem we are talking, it won't be solved, because they are the one who know the solution, because they are there for long years and they have the traditional knowledges, practices, and sometimes with the development practitioners, we bring something new and we are saying this is innovative, but this has already been there. Maybe not in this local area, but maybe after a few kilometers, some people are practicing the same. But we are, as an development agencies, we are talking that this is innovative, but already this is in our system, in our community, in their practices. So again, why it is delaying? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir, for your question. And then we move to Mr. Benjamin.
Thank you so
Please
much.
be really brief.
Okay, I will try to. First of all, I would like to thank Manu Gupta for giving us a deep dive into the process of localization and enhancing our understanding about the concept. My question is that how country policies, country legislation and policies, they are hampering the process of localization. And based on your vast experience, what is the way forward? That's all. Thank you.
Okay, so I guess I can take the floor, Shivangi.
Yeah, there's one more from Habibur Rahman. Rahmanji, just be very brief in your question. Just the question, please. Thank you.
Thank you. I am Mr. Habib Rahman. I am one question. I want to know what is the plan to increase capacity local NGO, any initiative from GNDR, such as capacity building, advocacy, or training. There is any initiative grassroots level NGO? Please comment.
So you respond first to, and then I'll take up the last one. Thank you.
All right. Okay, sure. No, I can understand the frustration. Why is it delayed? Well, sir, this is the question in all our minds, right? Why is it so slow? When we have enough examples of great local work and local leadership, and we've seen results. Like I said, in the pandemic, how local actors really stepped up and could take care of their neighbors and communities. I guess the challenge is around the entire political setup and the power dynamics. During the world wars and many other such kind of systems that were in place, these were international assistance was always part of a political setup. It was a weapon in some way that was used. So it's very difficult to let go of that power, isn't it? So it will require us to make that push. I mean, ADRRN was formed in 2002 to make that push, to push back on that kind of thing. And now we have GNDR, we have NIA. Many of you are members of NIA. We are coming together as alliances, as like-minded organizations from all around the world to push back. And it will require some efforts. We are seeing much better traction now than we were in the previous decade. Like I said, the World Humanitarian Summit spoke about it in a big way. The Sendai Framework for disaster risk reduction has a separate section on local level action. It has a separate set of indicators. So it is pushing through frameworks. But yes, it will take a while, and I think we should not feel frustrated. It requires a greater level of perseverance and grit to see the change that we all wish. And I think the country legislation, the second question that Benjamin raised, is also part of this answer. There are structures in place within countries also, which allow the agency of local elected representatives, local level institutions. But unfortunately, again, resources are not put at their disposal. And because they are not put at their disposal, they become like what we say, toothless tigers. And I guess the more recent push that we are seeing in how the market forces are in some way forcing governments to look at, how do you enable local level action is interesting models. So the growth of social enterprise around the world, the growth of startups around the world are one way of creating more resources at local level. I think the legislations that enable that kind of enterprise, that kind of new ways of financing are being seen in few countries, and that can be shared in the context that you are in. On the capacity building, I guess, Shivangi, it's over to you. I know ADRRN and many other networks and GNDR is doing a lot in building capacity of their member organizations and other local organizations. But maybe you can elaborate more on that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that. And quickly, in response to the question of Mr. Rahman, we have in GNDR, we have Local Leadership Academy, which will commence now in the month of September, and you should watch that space for the information. There would be lots of trainings which would be happening for the local CSOs. So we'll get back to that with more clear information on the types of those trainings as well as capacity building program. Wonderful. I think we have.
Thank you so much for reply. Thank you so much for good reply. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rahman. And Mr. Abdul Halim, let's park your questions as we move ahead and preserve your energies. This first session has been really nice, and we love the energy in the room, so please preserve it. I think let's move quickly to the direction that Dr. Gupta gave us, and we are going to bring in two specific directions today and try to understand from the lived-in experiences of the local organizations from Indonesia as well as Pakistan. And let's learn and share again. So let me first call upon Ms. Vidowati. We call her Vido. And she is currently the program manager of Humanitarian Forum Indonesia, which is an interfaith humanitarian forum. And it's aimed to promote humanitarian values, norms, and principles, advocacy, platform development, communication, and information sharing. And Widow has wide experience, 18 years of experience of working with vast networks and institutions and bringing them together. Also, her interest lies in advocacy on health, education, PSCA, disaster risk reduction, and community engagement. She has been involved in managing India's aid to foreign assistance in conflict settings as well, and has skills in participatory training and active learning in development and humanitarian sector. Today, she is here for a specific presentation on her experience of local partnership and whole of society approach for inclusive disaster risk reduction. Again, please park your questions. We will take it after her presentation. Over to you, Widow. Thank you. Widow, you may have to unmute yourself, please.
Okay, sorry. Thank you very much. Hello, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Widowati from Humanitarian Forum Indonesia. I will share about our experience with 2 projects in Indonesia. I will share my presentation. Sorry. Siwangi, clear my presentation?
Yes, we can see that. Can you make it full screen, please, if possible?
Okay.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
We have 2 experience about pioneer. This is partner for inclusion and localizing inclusive humanitarian response. And then second, synergy. This is supporting disaster preparedness of local NGO and communities. This is about pioneer. Program run talks partnership between 4 organizations. They own responsibility and complement each other. And then this program aims to build localization about inclusion, humanitarian response to partnership between organization of persons with disability, elderly organization, and local humanitarian agency to model called the pioneer model. The model aims to achieve greater inclusion, quality, and accountability of humanitarian response by creating space for of this elderly organization and humanitarian organization to join, design, implement, monitor, and evaluate humanitarian program. This is about organogram of pioneer. This project supported by LRA from German. And then we have advisory committee, and this is a practice in disaster risk reduction in Indonesia, also about elderly and disability. And then this is a management of pioneer. This is at national level. This is from Resilience Development Initiative, LDA. This focus for develop tools to monitoring and evaluation. And this is SB, Indonesia and the Philippines. This organization support. This is Mitra from ELRA, main organization to this management of pioneer, and then advocacy for disability inclusion. This is ODC. This is organization for disability. And then this is our humanitarian forum Indonesia. This is a 4 organization with different capacity. And then member of pioneers in 2 locations, Magelang district, Central Java, and then Sigi district and Central Sulawesi. This is a mixed organisasi disability. And then Vida Kaman, this is Forum Inklusi Disability Kabupaten Magelang. This is name of district. And then this is a working group from Central Sulawesi. For elderly organization, 2, Mr. Zainab and Pelita Hati, 1 from Magelang and 1 from Sigi. And then local humanitarian organization, 1 Habitat for Humanity Indonesia at Magelang and Dompet Duafa from Sigi. The member of pioneer collaboration in the district with local government organization. We have directly, we have 5 activities. Number 1, 3, 4, and 5. This is at management pioneer, these activities. But number 2, this is focused for member pioneer. This is at local level. So, and management pioneer, we develop a module to capacity building for pioneer member, and then testing mechanism pioneer until simulation in these communities. Okay, and then second, this is Synergy project. This is Synergy project collaboration humanitarian forum with One Visi Indonesia and Red Art Indonesia. This is supported by USAID. This program seeks to increase response capacity of communities, NGO, and business sector, as well as religious leaders, and strengthening public-private sector engagement and fight leader on disaster risk management. Now, this Synergy 2 project has the big goal to encourage the formation of synergy between local institutions and religious leader and business world, and especially in implementation of humanitarian action and disaster risk management. This is actor at Synergy project. This is from don't know what you said. This is project you said to World Vision USA, and then we collaborate with One Visi Indonesia, but agreement Humanitarian Forum Indonesia directly to World Vision USA, not with One Visi Indonesia. One Visi Indonesia assistant Humanitarian Forum to implementation this project. In this project, we have 6 partners from 6 religions institution in Indonesia. This is LBBMUI, this is Islam, and this is PHDI, this is from Hindu. This is Walubi from Buddhist, and this is Matakin from Confucianism. And then Christian, this is Akumene, this is from, this is member of one of member Humanitarian Forum Indonesia, also Caritas Indonesia, this is member of Humanitarian Forum. And then also we collaborate with private sector in this project. In this project, we collaborate too with all member of Humanitarian Forum Indonesia, even especially with Christian, this is and Caritas Indonesia. This is main activities and at Synergy project. This is as gender-based violence prevention training, and then we have regular coordination bimonthly, and we have psychosocial support service training. DCPSS enrollment participation model development. This is for later engagement in disaster risk reduction. We also mapping a private partnership for their for disaster risk reduction. And then this is necessary commitment for private sector. This is our challenges. So is because it takes longer because it has to make adjustment. At Pioneer disability, we have two big issue, disability and humanity. And at Synergy, there are many religious day in every religions. Example, if it's Islam, if Ramadan, we get difficulties to arrange activities with them. Also in Christian, in Catholic, Buddhist, Hindu, same like that. So there are many delay because the project has to adjust to freedom of existing religions institution because there are these activities and their religions. Second, simplify the material training and changing the activities training facilitation techniques so that it's acceptable. Because at the Pioneer, some participant is disability, so we must make simply about material training. If I've be facilitator, we must slowly to speak because sign interpreter need time to interpret what I say because some many new word to div so again what about inclusive something like that, so interpreter must give explanation about inclusive to the div something like that. Okay, and then the budget is bigger than a regular project because every meeting and training we must provide a sign interpreter and a companion for this in need because some people need companions because we have we get difficulties to join this our activities. In the end, get a representative group or person disability institution because there are many organizations based on variety of disability in Indonesia. So one disability makes one organization. So we get difficulties how person or organization to representatives about disability. So but ASB have in the early project have company organization disability to make a forum like Vidakama in Magelang. This is forum inklusi disabilitas. This is from 9 organization disabilities, but same like in working group at Sulawesi, Central Sulawesi, they are forum from organisasi disabilities. Okay, this is learning. Okay. Yes, okay. We can give, okay. The strategy for increase the capacity for institution organization must be made sustainable by facilitating not only one team training but also a common equipping them with TOT, TOF, essay material, and funding. At Synergy, we provide a TOT for religion reader, and then there be a facilitator to training psychosocial support and their religions. Same and at Pioneer, we facilitating training for disability and humanitarian actor at district level, and then they make a project to facilitating community about disaster risk reduction. The disability and humanitarian actor at district level have facilitating training. They make a facilitator in the field. So so they are not about training, but so we facilitating about equipment for these activities. We develop module for they use be a facilitator. So they're more we provide condition to disability to make a facilitator more easy in the field. And then number second, the Committee of Religions, Institution, Disability, and Humanitarian Agency have their own capacity and unique with can be optimized to complement each other with existing differences. At Pioneer, we with two big issues, disability and humanitarian. So organisasi humanitarian give materi to organisasi disability about humanitarian. So organisasi disabilities support humanitarian actor about interaction with disability, about inclusion. So this is the sharing about knowledge is among us. But in Synergy, the big organization in Indonesia, like LPB is Majelis Ulama Indonesia from Islam institution, support facilitating training at churches like this, and sometimes religion leader from churches support as a facilitator at mosque. Also, religion leader Hindu support at mosque and churches. Something like this, and we get not direct benefit. We more tolerancy amongst religions in Indonesia, especially in Jakarta, because this is collaboration not about with a religion leader, also with the community Islam and community Christian in one location, be a preparedness team in one's flagship, something like that. Example, it in Jakarta at flagship for Hindu, preparedness team from Islam, Christian, also Muslim. Okay, and that's it. The implementation team must be mutual agree up until that there is a responsibility for the activity. For arrange team, we must coordinate with all of the partner. So if we make activities in Hindu, we coordinate with regional leader from Hindu. Also, if we make activities in Islam, we must collaborate with LBBMW so to get a fixed date. And also, same at with a working group for disability in Central Sulawesi and Vidakame at Magelang. And number four, assistance is not only theoretical, but with a practical and facilities and of fund to support to follow up. Like a picture in this picture, this is Mr. Ratusimo. He is elderly and also a disability. In the picture, he tried the rap have developed by humanitarian Habitat for Humanity Indonesia at Magelang, because the community need example. What can I say about what can I know about accessible this place? So Habitat provide rap for accessible for disability for disability person. Not about a rap, also we retrofitting about a toilet in this public at Sumber Village. Sumber Village is close from Mount Merapi. And then communication and coordination do not end when the project is finished. The project Synergy and Pioneer have finished last year, but until now we still communication and coordination with them. We get update about Pioneer after Pioneer project at Sigi. We develop policy brief and local government agreed to this is reference for local government at Sigi. So this is very happy for us because this is influence to regulation at Sigi from the end of the project. But in Synergy, forum from Sikh religion leader, this is still ongoing at Jakarta and be part of a humanitarian forum Indonesia. Okay. This is IC material have produced two projects. The first, this is a module for training. This is sorry still in bahasa. This is preparedness planning for humanitarian response inclusive. And then the second, this is localizing to develop preparedness and humanitarian response inclusive. And the end, this is disaster preparedness for Sikh religion in Indonesia. But sorry, still in bahasa. Maybe next time Mbak Happy can translate this material to English so everybody can access from other country. This is a video from Pioneer. She is deaf, but in this project, she is a finance. So I will send link this video so everybody can access about this video. So I think enough. Thank you very much. I will give back to moderator.
Yeah, thank you, Vido, for that wonderful presentation and your work with the faith-based organizations as well as work with disability. And this reminds us of Views from the Frontline 2019, where 4,000 people with disabilities were interviewed, and the survey showed that only 16% of them were able to access the information and resources for enhancing their resilience. So there's lots of work to be done in that particular area. But it also kind of brought in two important points, as I see it, is that how do you leverage capacities when we talk about whole of society approach or local partnerships? It's to bring organizations together to leverage expertise, resources of each of the stakeholders for building larger resilience. And I think your presentation was really clearly highlighting that. And communication and coordination. And I think you importantly brought in that point. And I think Rabia was also mentioning earlier about that what will be understood by these communities when you start working, even the local civil society organization. And language and communication does play a very important role. I think when we talk about strengthening collaboration, I think the coordinated efforts are also kind of, really a way forward towards localization and its processes. So thank you very much, Vido. And I will give only 5 minutes because we are really running short of time. If there are any questions to Vido, please raise your hand. Right. Yes.
Yeah, it's so sorry. I written that it's a road because of the heavy rain. So I could not attend. This is first half, and a big apology to the committee. But I'm expecting the minutes so that I can follow you up altogether.
Thank you, Pradeep. Thank you. Yeah, we got you. Thank you. Right, we do not have any questions for Vido, but thank you so much, Vido, for your presentation. It was really enriching for, I'm sure, for all our members. Quickly, we have another some 36 minutes. Let's quickly call upon our next speaker, Shahid Salim, who is Executive Director of Rural Education and Economic Development Society, Reeds, Pakistan. He has 20 years of national and international experience in the humanitarian and development sector and has been widely involved in conducting trainings, research studies, developing training modules, as well as being a member and leading many national and international networks in Pakistan. He will share today his experience of local community-based financing. Over to you, Shahid.
Thank you very much. Just a minute. I just want to share with your screen.
Shahid, you will have to be a little louder. Thank you.
Oh, yes, why not? Just. Oh, yes, thank you very much. Can you see my presentation now?
Yes, thank you. You can make it on a slide, please.
Yes, sure. I think it's fine now.
Yes, thank you.
So thank you very much. I am Shahid Salim, and thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to share what are the experiences of the READS. READS is actually the abbreviation of Rural Education and Economic Development Society. This organization is working in Pakistan from last 22 years. And today, no doubt that what is our topic, that the community-based financing. And I have given the title of my presentation is that empowering our community, local financing for a brighter future through self-help group approach. because this approach which we are using at the community level and for the brighter future, or for we can say the local financing and the localization that. Reads, no doubt, as I have already shared, that it is a registered organization in 2002. It is working in Pakistan. In the present scenario, when we are working, the background is that in our area where we are working, there are mostly the drought, unexpected heavy rains, heat wave, locust attack, floods, even the soil health is deteriorating, decreasing in yield and supply chain, biodiversity loss is there, threats to sustainable cotton, because we are also working with the cotton farmers. There is less resources to adopt climate smart agriculture and nature based solutions. Overall, there are the negative impacts on livelihoods as well of the communities. Reads is working especially in context of the climate change, and we can say that in context of the climate change or the livelihood programs, especially KIA, this is the Netherlands organization, Cotton Connect UK, Better Cotton Initiative, Tier Fund, Cordate, KNH, HelpAge, ICO Corporation, Government of Punjab, even the Environment Protection Agency. These are the organizations who are supporting us, our communities in different financial contributions that. No doubt there are also some networks like National Humanitarian Network is there, NEAR is there, Scaling Up Nutrition, GNDR is no doubt always in the leading role, Alliance for Water Stewardship, and we are also member with the Sustainable Agriculture Network as well. Presently, READS is working in Punjab. You know that there are the 4 provinces of the country. And in Punjab, there is the 10 districts where we are working. In Sindh, we are working in 4 districts. In Balochistan, we are working in 1 district as well. What is the structure how we are working with the communities? This is our DRR, disaster risk reduction structures. We can say that this is the structure of the 1 district, we can say, which is the larger body in Pakistan at after the country and the provincial, and then the district is there. In district, there is the district disaster management authority. This is the government-based authority or led by the government. Then even there is the Tehsil district management authority. This is we can say a shorter for that. Then we have the union council management authority. Even in union council, we have started the structure with the communities, which has been established by the READS. But 2 layers are with the government, and then our structures are linked with the government. In Union Council, we have established emergency response teams, or we can say the community emergency response teams. In community emergency response teams, we have almost 20 members. And in these community emergency response teams, we have 50% male and 50% are the females. Under this Union Council level, we have the village uh, community CERTs or community emergency response teams. Same structure we have. And then we have the thing where we are directly working involving the community for the resilience. There is another structure whom we called as self-help group, and this is one of the approach which is working globally, that how we can sustain our communities. We also have working with the self-help groups, and each self-help group is we have 15 to 20 members. If we say that what are the role of these main structures in that, what is the READS role? READS role is establish of the community emergency response team, self-help groups, or the union council level. Then the capacity building of these structure. Then we have to be a mock exercises with the coordination of the rescue 112, 122, and the district administration. Then we have to develop the linkages. Then we have to provide some emergency kits to the community structures. And even we are also involved in the humanitarian response. While DDMA, District Disaster Management Authority, they have the role capacity building of the community structures, because we are just organizing the communities READS, while the capacity building is the whole responsibility of the DDMA. Then the second one, they are also arranging the mock exercises. Then they are conducting the need assessments. Then they are generating the early warning systems and disseminating to the communities. And no doubt the communities are also playing a role with the DDMA structures. Humanitarian response is also on the DDMA. Then we have the role of CERT, Community Emergency Response Team, provide training to the community members, preparedness response, basic life skills, assist as first responders and in emergency situation, then raise awareness about the disaster preparedness, identify and assist vulnerable populations. Then we have to be recovery phase as well. They are supporting that. What is doing the self-help group? Role of self-help group is that pool their resources and savings in this collective strength allows member to assess larger amount in case of emergency they need that. Second one is the promote a culture of savings and responsible. Then we have the educating members about financial management and investment in the strategies or the small businesses we can say, or the climate resilience building or the businesses is that. Encourage entrepreneurship and self-employment. Members may utilize the group's funds to small business. Overall, what the saving is doing that, the 10% of the saving is going to the community resilience fund. And the community is doing that and planning how they have to do all this. Reeds had signed an MOU with the district disaster management authority. We are not working as a separate entity, but we have signed an MOU with them. Then we have the community emergency response training manuals we have. Under this, this is established with the tier fund and one of our, you may, the persons know that there was a project of the shifting power, a localization project, which was almost for in the 5 countries it was done. And so that's why we were the part of that. Then this is actually the community emergency response teams. This is the training hall of the rescue 1122 and DDMA, District Disaster Management Authority, where we are bringing the communities members here and they are building the capacity of our community emergency response teams or the members of the self-help groups in that. Even they are playing the different roles and mock exercises doing that. And they are also supporting in the community in case of emergency. They are identifying the beneficiaries. They are supporting in the distribution as well. What is the structure we are doing that at the self-help group basis? There are the social mapping and the well-being. They are identifying the key issues and the challenges. Then they are setting goals and policies, priorities for their family well-being. And then they have the capacity building, a skill continuous core assessment is there. Then they are networking and adaptation, then resource mobilization, pooling and utilizing of the funding, continuous assessment is there, and empowerment and the sustainability. This is the whole cycle which the self-help group and the certs are going on. You can see that what are the major outputs we can say overall the community structures which we are doing that. We have almost 10,000 disadvantaged females organized through self-help groups. And under self-help groups, we have the done is that people or the communities and the women, they have self-confidence, they have self-esteem to explore and meet their children rights and the needs. Even their leadership skills are enhanced. Overall, we are organizing different activities like, for example, 600 females improve the fuel efficient cooking stoves, 200 have X to save and smoke free at their homes. Even the savings habits has been promoted among that so that they become the resilient and they can use their savings in case of emergencies. At present, if we can see that we have almost 1 million plus Pak rupees as a saving. And about among that, almost 0.8 million is in the internal loaning. And internal loaning is that mostly the women's, they are doing the grocery shops, they are rearing goats, they are embroidery shops or doing the embroidery work, they are having the solar panels and the different working at the ground level so that they become the resilient in case of emergencies, they have to use that. Networking coordination enhanced with the stakeholders. For example, these groups become coordinated with the rescue 1122 health department. Even we have also distributed the emergency kits among these community emergency response teams. And great to share with you that these emergency response team, which was established in 2016 under the Shifting the Power project, they are still going on because every year we are organizing the mock exercises and the refreshers for these community emergency response teams. And these emergency response teams played a great role during the response of the 2022 the mega floods in Pakistan. We have especially the training manuals for all these, even the self-help group manuals are there, how they can be working, how they can take the record keeping of that. So from the self-help group, they have initiated, no doubt these are very small businesses, very small things, but at the village level, they are contributing that. Even the businesses in even a family having the saving, they can utilize those funds for their own family needs. For example, if they needed a solar panel because the electricity shortages everywhere, they have purchased that for their family, so that in the heat wave or in the drought or in the hot season, they can having even one fan for their family. Even they can having installed the hand pumps for the safe drinking water for their family. So such type of activities which the localization or the self-financing is going on. If we can say the accountability at overall within the self-help group level, in self-help group approach is crucial to ensuring transparency, proper utilization. What we are doing that we have the proper record of all that. We have the financial records and of all the transactions at the self-help group. Self-help group has the own decision by them. Self-help group leads regularly share financial report within their members, what the earning is there and how the utilization is going on. They have developed a code of conduct and set of rules that all members must adhere, clearly outline the roles and responsibilities, that who will collect the money, who will they utilize, who will go through the application from the beneficiaries or the members coming on, and how will they give the loan to them. Then even they have ensured that all the decisions within the self-help groups are made collectively, transparently, and establish a clear process for resolving conflicts or disputes if in case there is an arise. For example, if there is a little saving and there are 4 or 5 applications, then they will sit together that who needs more and at an urgent time. So they decide and give resolve these such type of conflicts, or maybe we can say the decisions honestly, that who will seek the best solution with them. Even we have developed a directory, and this is the directory that in which all the certs members contact numbers are available in this directory, and even all the departments who are aligned in case of emergencies, in case of drought, in case of flood, in case of any type of humanitarian activity. These directories are available with the communities and for with the department, so that in case of emergency they can contact with one another. No doubt in the whole process we have some challenges. We can say that we have the funding constraints to equip all the 122 certs with emergency kits. This is one of the challenge. Even you know that the country Pakistan is facing different types of disasters like drought, heat wave, floods, unexpected heavy rains, locust. In 2010, after 2010, there was in 2022, there was once again a mega flood in Pakistan. And this year, once again, the heavy rains and flooding has been started. So these are the challenges that how we have to cover community and how the funds locally community can contribute for that. If we can say that what we can say the solutions or the things all over about that learnings what from here, community is the first responder in the face of disaster, no doubt. Capacity provision of emergency response kits and building strong linkages with the community line department is very helpful in all over the process. The self-help group approach emphasizes collective actions. The approach promotes the financial inclusion by encouraging members safe save regular and access credit facilities as well. Many self-help group members have developed entrepreneurship through the small businesses. Self-help group fosters a sense of community and support. The approach has been particularly effective in promotion of equality and empowering the women as well. Through regular meetings and interaction, members receiving education learn about the various financial instruments and budgeting. Self-help groups are contributing to the development of the local community as well. Self-help groups have often collaborate with government agencies, NGOs, and the financial institutions, because different organizations are working in that in the area. And you know, when a new organization is working in the coming into the area, and when see there is a very strong structure is already available, they will come with that, sit together and identify the issues and challenges and try to resolve these. And so these our self-help groups and community emergency response teams are having the strong coordination with the organization working in the area. So thank you very much. This is a little bit about the program which we are doing in Pakistan in the small context which we have already described with you. I'm sure always welcome having the question and the clarifications and all the things. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Shahid. Thank you for that wonderful presentation. And you showed how self-help groups, and I think in Asia or in South Asia in particular, self-help groups have been one of those models which has created or which has contributed to communities' resilience. And I think your case study was perfect example of that how accountability and reporting has been set up. But what importantly which struck to me in your presentation is the linkages with the local government. And I think for localization that's very important. How do you create an enabling environment by establishing that collaboration with the local government? And I think that's one of the important dimension or aspect of localization. And accountability, and I think reporting back, I would say, is also is also a sign of a healthy localized system, I would say. So no, thank you for that. I think we just have 15 minutes left. I would take few questions before I'm sure we have lots of questions, but and we were also engrossed in listening to this two beautiful presentations. Let's dive into questions. And yes, we have hand raised from member from Faith. Faith in Action, please.
Well, thank you. I do not have questions, but I just want to compliment because I do also work with the same approach here in Bangladesh. So we say that self-help approach is the power to the powerless. So this is one of the best methodology of localization and building the capacity of the poor people. And as Mr. Shahid mentioned that we have two other layers, and the final layer is called CBO, community-based organization or federation, that's registered with the local government. And in one time, we just phase out from the area, and the registered CBO, they take the responsibility for their own community or for their own locality to for their social development, as well as to face the disaster and other issues, and they work with the local government. So this approach is a wonderful approach for localization, but there is a lot of challenges to collaborate with the government. But once the government is involved with this approach, so they actually learn how actually the self-help approach could be one of the means for community change, and to mitigate the risk of disaster and climate change, all these issues, and also to solve the local problems. So thank you, Mr. Shoaib. I really appreciate, because we do bear the same passion. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Any other question or reflection? We can take one or two more.
Hi, Shivanji.
Yes.
This is Norman from the Philippines. Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon.
From
Norman.
rainy Manila, Philippines.
Good afternoon.
Yeah,
Norman.
just a quick question for Mr. Shahid. You mentioned about the self-help group, and then the women are already accessing loan internally. Is that correct, Mr.
Yes,
Shahid?
sir. Yes, it's correct. Yes,
Yes,
they are
correct,
taking the loans. They are taking
Yeah.
the loans, or they're dispersing the loan within the
Yeah.
self-help groups.
All
from
right.
their
So have you
savings business.
experienced some members not paying the loans, and then eventually the group had some problem? So how does it affect the self-help group? or are you saying that the women's group are very good in paying their loans? That's what I presume.
Oh, yes, sure. Thank you. This is no doubt a very important question, and this is one of the challenge which is going on at the community level, at the ground level. Actually, the thing is that they have the set of code of conduct. They have said that if anyone will not pay, the 3 members who are giving the guarantee of that member who is getting the loan, they will be
Alright.
responsible for that. And if
Okay.
someone is not paying that, all the 3 members and the 20 group members went to their home and sit with together and discuss that they have to pay a loan. Otherwise, the next disbursement will not go, or next loan will not be issued to any member. So
Okay.
it looks that the whole group is the responsible for that.
That's group liability, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other intervention do we have? This is the best time. Right. I think we have no more questions or reflections. So first of all, let me thank Dr. Manu Gupta, Viduvati, and Shahid for their excellent presentation and the participation of our members as well. We at some point reached 61 or 62, which is good, I would say, on a working day for attending this webinar. So thank you everybody. Just to say and reiterate that this is Members Spotlight Series, and we welcome your ideas and the subjects that you would like to share and learn more about. So please write to my colleagues, Ipshita and Happy, and if you want to share something, if you want to know something more about, we are trying to bring expertise from our members themselves. You all are experts in your own domain, and it would be good to hear from you and keep on having this spotlight series for this learning and exchange. Before we end this session, we would also like you to take a poll today, which will be on your screen, and I think one of my colleagues will help you. This is just to take your feedback on this Member Spotlight series and take necessary actions to improve this furthermore. But once again, thank you all the speakers. I would also like to thank GNDR Secretariat staff, Happy, Ipshita, Abdullah, and our comms team. And thank you all for all your support. So please spare a few moments before you leave to have this poll running. Yeah, so this is the feedback which you will see on your screen. Kindly just submit your answers, please. Thank you.
আচ্ছা, এই ইনলাইন ডাটাটা আমরা একটু ভ্যালিডেশন কিভাবে করতে পারি? আমরা সেক্টরের সাথে কথা বলতে পারি? সেক্টর থেকে যায় ভ্যালিডেশন।
Right. I think everybody would have posted their responses on this poll. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your great time, and it was really wonderful learning from all of you. Let's meet next time. We will soon be announcing our next episode, I say, for localization, which will be at the end of this month. So watch out that as well. It would be interesting to learn more. Thank you all for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Okay, thank you so much for the
Thank
great presentations. Thank you so much.
you. I will leave.